가나다게 팬다고 라차와 것이 시도미는 신이 담바 따와셔. 난디 소소를 내지들 개신이는 따고 그래서 다 준중나 14야.
And then the next verse reads that not only should one be tolerant towards these individuals, but in fact one should view them as teachers. One should view them as spiritual teachers. It reads that when one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. And there is an extensive discussion of how this kind of attitude could be cultivated in Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, how, in fact, one can view the perpetrators of harm upon oneself as objects of sort of spiritual learning.
다른 식의 세ven 냠린 꼴이 우문주게 데 갈고데 심지숨바 말베 심지숨베 나로 할레버리샤.
And also we find profoundly inspiring and effective teachings on the cultivation of patience and tolerance in the third chapter of Chantakirti's supplement to the Middle Way, Madhyamaka Avatara. So we will read some questions now. Your Holiness, I want so much to be a better, kinder human being, to be compassionate and to get rid of all my negative thoughts and actions. But the harder I try to work towards this, the more mistakes I make, the more I seem to sleep. It feels like walking through sludge.
As I explained, the transformation of mind not easy, take time. So should not lose courage and interest. You should continue. Even, you see, I think helpful is to think not only just as a few weeks or a few months or a few years, life after life, and 1,000 lives, million lives, trillion lives, eons, limitless eons. That's the Buddhist way of thinking. So as I mentioned earlier, to me, when I, you see, feel certain sort of, some frustrations, or some too much sadness, then I remember the shloka, as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings, sufferings remain, I will remain in order to serve them. So remind us that and repeat that verses and think, meditate on it immediately. Sort of the mental sort of frustrations or these things immediately disappear. So you see, the more sort of determination, irrespective of what time, that kind of determination develops, the things become much easier. The more you see you want immediately something, then things become more difficult. So that's my experience, my own experience. If you find something useful, then think like that. If you find no meaning, then I don't know. I have no idea, advice.
The anger I feel sometimes has its basis in fear. When I get angry, I feel more powerful, then I'm not afraid anymore. How should I deal with that?
That's very true. We all have same experience. So that you see, you feel some kind of courage or more power, but that actually blind power. That energy may not be constructive or destructive, not very sure. More anger eventually may take one's own life. So foolish. If you have, I think, a sort of clear sort of awareness, the negativeness or harmfulness about anger, then think more that sort of, I think, the viewpoint. And then on the other hand, Again, lung lang say yule kyabaduwa.
It also depends upon the object of anger.
Mirvichil mean kondo sabi inani, ya midigi yandan samdana, pingrua.
For example, if your anger is directed towards an individual person, then you can think about some of the positive qualities of that person which can have the effect of reducing your anger.
Yanji dungervichil sam kwache. Any kondo sabi inani, ta jumze das yebesabjiri.
But on the other hand, if your anger is as a result of some painful experiences that you have undergone, then
or the world affair is some certain things
crisis,
which
some
crisis.
world crisis or something, then of course there is some justifiable ground for your anger. But however, if one thinks through carefully, there is no real benefit for getting angry.
Yeah.
When Your Holiness talk about control of emotions, that can in the West sometimes mean a repression of emotions, suppression of emotions. How do we approach this practice with the lightness of mind?
들어봐. 지 동해로 사직 중대지기. 디견전에 삼례야 뭐지비사 여대비시기 뭐는 그래야 되고 떠나잖아. 나도 배배벨레 동나서 표현이 상스러운 시체.
Of course, it's very true that sometimes suppression can be actually negative, particularly if the frustration or the resentment or anger is experienced as a result of some painful experience that one has undergone in the past. Suppressing that anger can be negative and destructive. So under such circumstances, expression of that emotion can be free. There is a Tibetan expression which says that if there's a problem of conch being blocked, the way you can solve the problem is just blowing it out so that it's unblocked. So there is that understanding that certain forms of emotions which are particularly directed towards past experiences of painful kind, they are better expressed. But on the other hand, if you have a clear recognition of their destructive potential, you can begin to distance yourself from such explosive outbursts so that gradually you will diminish their forces. Why are positive thoughts and emotions to be preferred and encouraged above negative ones? Are they not equally impermanent and lacking in independent existence?
맞다. 집에 다니 집어래디 개별 레벨로 뒤용도와. 레벨에 집에런시래. 교회 집에런시래디 만저 대화디 집에런시래. 동해디 집에런시래. 나도 대화 되고도가.
Although both of them are equally devoid of inherent existence, fact remains that negative thoughts and emotions lead to suffering and painful experiences, whereas positive thoughts and emotion leads to happiness. And what we seek, what we all wish to achieve is happiness.
And pain also momentarily changing. Same. If you use that logic, there's no need to seek happiness. And no need to make effort to overcome suffering. Both momentarily changing. Just lay down. Just wait. I think that's not, I think, a proper way. So therefore, they deliberately, you see, those source or cause of happiness, try to seek, try to implement. So those sources and causes of suffering is deliberately try to overcome, try to stop. Okay, I don't know. Even Buddhahood, also momentarily changing. Everything momentarily changing. Good night. Thank you.